time. Time to go out to the left coast and visit with Michael Snyder as he tells us what's happening in the wonderful world of movies. Michael, how you doing this week?
I'm good, Alex, and we're rolling out here and trying to brace for storms that'll eventually come, not to the extent of your snow blizzard a few days back, but hey, it's wintertime, and it's January, and it's still maybe the bottom of the barrel in movie land in terms of what's getting released, but a couple of fairly decent films have come out this weekend, and let's get to them. Kung Fu Panda 3 is what I want to lead off with, because I actually really like these films. They are movies made by DreamWorks Animation, and those guys have always seemed like, I don't know, weak sisters to Pixar, and like the shoes on the other foot right now in the wake of The Good Dinosaur being such a stiff from Pixar. And this film being the third in a very clever and entertaining animated movie series about a portly but nimble and noble panda who protects his village and friends from monstrous enemies. It is absolutely my favorite of the DreamWorks animated films, this particular series. They are the most beautifully designed, art-directed, and animated of the DreamWorks films, with universal themes and no topical humor like the Shrek movies, which were like quickly dated right after they were released. Here you've got Jack Black, who I don't really think can carry a film, but with a supporting cast, he could be great. And in this case, we're talking voice work, and he's supported by the likes of Dustin Hoffman as Master Shifu, the sort of little rodent-like guy who teaches Po all he needs to know about Kung Fu. Angelina Jolie as his compadre Tigress. Jackie Chan as his other compadre, the monkey. Seth Rogen as Mantis, Lucy Liu as Viper, and David Cross as Crane. They're kind of like the Furious Five. And in this case, they introduce Bryan Cranston's voice, and he plays a pivotal role here. It is the father of Po the panda, his long-lost father, Lee, who shows up to tell him about a hidden village of mystical pandas who will have to help him when Kai, an ancient giant bull creature, played voice-wise by J.K. Simmons, is going to emerge from the mists to trash Po's village, defeat Po and his allies, take over the world, and seemingly overmatched Po, the student, must become the teacher, blah, blah, blah. What's really interesting about this film, beyond the obvious, is that I think it's the first full co-production for DreamWorks and their Chinese partners in Oriental DreamWorks. And it couldn't be a more appropriate choice with the Chinese setting and the subject matter. You know, you got your dumpling, gobbling kung fu master and all these creatures, and visually just a knockout. And I thought it was funny and sweet and a great film for the entire family. James Hong is back as the bird who has been kind of the surrogate father of Po, and everybody delivers, including, and most importantly, the animators on the direction of Jennifer Yu Nelson and Alessandro Carloni. I really enjoyed this, and that's a breath of fresh air in the dead of winter. The Finest Hours is a historical action drama starring Chris Pine, Casey Affleck, Ben Foster, Eric Bana, and Holiday Granger. They're the main actors in a cast that basically brings to life the Coast Guard's daring rescue attempt off the coast of Cape Cod in 1952 when a blizzard trashes a pair of oil tankers. It's a real story, and it's given the full CGI special effects treatment, and this is a case where that stuff works like gangbusters. Okay, so one of these trashed oil tankers gets the full attention of the Coast Guard rescue crew from Chatham, Massachusetts, a small seaside town, but when word finally gets to them about the second, the SS Pendleton, which is actually ripped in half by the storm, there's nobody left to send but 4 less than prepared guys in a 36-foot wooden lifeboat. I mean, it's suicide, but Bernie Weber, who is a young, shy, soft-spoken yet staunch Coast Guard sailor, is determined to do his best after a failed rescue in his past. Very well played by Chris Pine in a radically different role from his usual swashbuckling persona as, like, I don't know, a fairy tale prince or a mover and shaker or Captain Kirk in the Star Trek reboot. Waiting and hoping for his safe return is plucky Miriam, his fiancée, who is a switchboard operator played by Holiday Granger, who you may remember as Lucretia Borgia in the Borgias TV series. And she's also, I think, an evil stepsister in the recent Cinderella. This is a Disney release. There's a high cheese factor in some of the dialogue and the broad portrayals. I mean, I wouldn't call it a great movie, but it's a story that demanded to be told. And here it is, with a game cast and a raft of astonishing special effects. The one caveat is the entirely unnecessary use of 3D conversion that darkens an already murky setting for the film, which is set largely in the nighttime on a storm-swept sea or inside the hold of a battered oil tanker. The 3D just makes the image darker, and the very effective and realistic effects are less impactful. The romance between Captain Kirk and Lucretia Borgia, very sweet, and gives the thing heart, even when their interplay could be kind of clumsy. And Casey Affleck is very solid as the moody, solitary engineer whose creativity and determination to keep the oil tanker afloat is a tonic to his beleaguered crew. And the rescuing the quartet is coming up in a little boat trying to find them in the seas. Eric Bana is kind of the a-hole Coast Guard commander. He doesn't fare as well with heavy-handed accent, southern accent that you don't really kind of believe for a moment. But, you know, this worked for what it is. Again, not a great film. Director Craig Gillespie did Lars and the Real Girl and $1 Million Arm, and he kind of transcends the script's limitations. Based on a cool book, I guess, and kind of an amazing story that I was caught up in. Laser Team is a low-budget comedy by an Austin, Texas-based group called Rooster Teeth. And kind of in the case with Broken Lizards movies, I didn't find it particularly funny, but you got to give them a lot of guts for having, you know, done an Indiegogo account and developed enough money, like over a couple million, to make this movie, which is basically about a group of people searching for extraterrestrial intelligence who get a signal from space, and there are fear is a foot in the land because we know aliens are coming. And so the government has been trying to get this one guy to fight off the aliens using this crazy suit, and it's busted essentially into 4 pieces that these idiots find, and then they have to be the heroes of Earth as the Laser Team. And God, I wanted to like it. You know, I love sci-fi, I love comedy, and I applaud their determination to get this thing made. And there are a few interesting moments, but I just wasn't sold on it. But I mean, crowdfunded. You got to love the guts they had to put this thing together. Anyway, Laser Team, you know, I guess if you have nothing better to do, maybe you're better off watching it than 2 films they didn't show to the critics that are opening this week. 50 Shades of Black, apparently a spoof of the really super popular sexy S&M themed 50 Shades of Grey books. It comes from the Wayans brothers, so draw your own conclusions here. Among the actors involved are Florence Henderson, Fred Willard, and Jane Seymour, besides the usual gang of Wayans regulars. And Jane Got a Gun, which kind of looked cool to me. And Natalie Portman is starring in a Western about a woman who's trying to, I guess, defend her home against a bunch of outlaws. And Ewan McGregor and Joel Edgerton are in the film. And who doesn't want to see, you know, Natalie Portman running around with a gun? I sure do. I couldn't. They didn't let me. And that's about it. Kind of thin pickings, but I'll tell you what. Kung Fu Panda 3 and The Finest Hours were time that was not, wasted in a movie theater. How about that?
Well, okay, all right, okay. So you had a halfway decent week, you know.
Yeah, considering the quality of the movies I did see, which could have been terrible. You know, these films are so hit and miss, and particularly, you know, they're not going to be, I think Kung Fu Panda 3 is going to have legs, it's going to do well, and I think, again, a really fine film for the family and beautifully rendered. And I thought it was cool that they teamed with the Chinese branch of DreamWorks to give a little authenticity to costuming and some of the mystical, otherworldly themes. And so, hey, I say yeah. Watching much on television, buddy?
Well, I've been watching screeners. That's what I've been doing, and voting for the SAG Awards. But outside that, we saw The Danish Girl,
Right.
which I think is a fairly mediocre movie. Although we did
powerful theme, right? Powerful theme, but it was like almost like Lifetime.
Well, we voted for her as best supporting actress because she does all the heavy lifting in that film. You know, I mean, he just puts on a dress. She does the heavy lifting. She does the emotion. She does the acting. She has to play a normal person. You know,
it's about time that the male lead just sat around and looked pretty, while the female lead did the hard stuff.
Yeah, did the hard stuff. The same thing was true of Carol. I felt that Mari Runa did the heavy lifting in that one. You know? And
Rooney Mara as well. Hey, I'm thinking about this. I truly thought that Alicia Vikander, who you mentioned as a supporting actress for The Danish Girl, really did her best work this past year in a film called Ex Machina, where you absolutely buy her as this.
I like her. I like her better in this picture.
Well, she's certainly a little more approachable.
Yeah. Then also on TV, I got to say something. I'm disappointed. I've suddenly realized that what I thought was a good show isn't, and that's Legends of Tomorrow. The second episode is flat, and secondly, I suddenly realized they're stealing Doctor Who. Every inch of it. Oh, we need to put on some clothes to be on this in Norway. Oh well, we have a place with a room that makes clothes for you. All the ship itself is kind of like the TARDIS.
Yeah, they did take elements of it, but remember, Rip Hunter and his time bubble go all the way back to before Doctor Who was created in the UK. It's a character from DC Comics in the late 50s.
Yeah.
That said, Arthur Darvill, his presence as Rip Hunter is already a telling clue that the guys who are doing Legends of Tomorrow are very, very well aware of Doctor Who and all of its elements, and I guess willing to take from the show.
Not only take, I mean literally lift. And that bothers me a little bit, especially from these guys who've been so good at what they've produced up until now.
I'm going to reserve judgment and watch a few more episodes. It's the second part of their so-called pilot, and granted, it's a bit much in the wake of years and years of the Doctor traveling in the TARDIS to find something comparable, and then have one that was influenced by the other now kind of stealing from the student has become the master. I don't know.
Well, no, wait a minute. What year was this comic book out?
57, 58, 59, 60, around there.
I think Doctor Who is 55.
Doctor Who is 63. It debuted on, I believe, November 22nd, the day Kennedy died.
Well, anyway, I'm just kind of disappointed with that, Right. And I'll tell you, I did like, what was it, Lucifer?
Yeah, I hear it's actually good. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was pretty terrific. Supposedly the comic book people have a little argument with it, but I didn't see the comic book, so I liked what I saw on TV.
Yeah, based on Neil Gaiman's character of Lucifer from the Sandman comics, highly regarded series of graphic novels. Now, look, they're gonna simplify. They're going to manipulate some of the properties for television. They always do. I also have to, again, chime in and say I'm really enjoying The Expanse, and I've actually enjoyed the first 3 episodes of Colony, having watched all 3 of them. I'm really getting a kick out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried to get into that on the first episode, and I thought it fell flat. But anyway, that's me.
That's it.
I'm just an old man, and I'm tired. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Anyway, that's it. Tell them where they can find you, Michael.
On Twitter, I'm at Culture Blaster. And on Facebook, go to Michael Snyder's Facebook page. No, go to Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page and like and link and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Michael. We'll see you again next week and find out what's happening in the movies. Bye.
Bye.
And that's it for this week. Stay tuned now for more GABNet, following immediately over most of this same station.